me clearly. America is not a racist country.
Ladies and gentlemen, we know discriminatory practices is commonplace in policing when it comes down to how it's practiced in the US. And it is something that has been going on for centuries now, and it will never change. Unfortunately, when a cop does decide to blow the whistle on the practices that are going on, they ultimately become targets and they end up getting squeezed out, which makes it virtually impossible for anybody to really truly be a good cop. Because if you go out and you try to practice the law evenly, you have superiors that will come down on you because they want you to target a certain demographic. And if you complain about the discriminatory practices that are being used out here, then that cop ultimately becomes a target. And there are whistleblower laws on the books across this country, and they are ignored by police departments every single day. So, how can you be a good cop in a corrupt system? It's impossible. The only way you could make it is you would have to practice all of the dirty things that your superiors are telling you to do. When you see, systemic racism, trust me, a lot of these police chiefs that are coming before the cameras addressing the public, they're telling these cops to do that. But they know how to put on a good performance when they're in front of the public. So many of these cops, these lower level cops, are taking their instructions from superiors and they're being told to target our community. And they do it every single day. So let's get into this story because this is about a cop, and in this case, it's a Caucasian cop that decided to blow the whistle on Kansas City PD. So he was a traffic cop and he was told to target minority residents. And we know what that means. That means the Black community or African Americans, as they classify, to meet ticket quotas lawsuit. Now, the DOJ, ladies and gentlemen, was also investigating Kansas City PD because of their discriminatory practices. This is one of many police departments that was targeted for investigation by the DOJ. So let's get into this story. Kansas City police officer says his superiors instructed him to target minority residents in traffic stops in effort to meet ticket quotas that are illegal under Missouri law, according to a lawsuit filed earlier this week. Now, let's be real. These cops break the law every single day. They trample on your constitutional rights every single day. When they go out on the streets to police, they're not concerned about the law. They'll break the law in order to arrest you. We have seen it so many times, we've lost count. They do not follow the law. And this is why y'all really need to get that protect and serve off of every single police car in America because that's like false advertisement. You're not doing those things out here. And this story proves that you're not doing those things out here. So why keep it on your car? You need to get all of that off of police vehicles. So This officer filed this lawsuit. His name is Edward Williams, a Kansas City Police Department traffic cop. Filed the employment discrimination lawsuit Monday in Jackson County Circuit Court. In it, he says police leaders disobeyed the law by continuing to encourage officers to meet ticket goals. And he said this was prevalent in the traffic unit to measure their performance. Williams says he was punished for raising complaints with his commanders over the so called ticket quotas and potentially racially discriminatory policing practices in predominantly Black neighborhoods. His superiors was telling him to give out most of his tickets to the Black residents that live there. And you'll see the breakdown of how they did this, and I'm gonna tell y'all about something that happened in New Jersey that's very similar to this, and it just goes to show you this is happening everywhere across the country. Williams, who said he had been with the department for 21 years, complained to KCPD's Human Resources Department about a supervisor's alleged directive to go to minority neighborhoods to write tickets because of the belief that it would be easier to write multiple citations for every stop, the lawsuit says. He alleged his superiors instructed him to target minority citizens and says his superiors constantly subjected him to racially inflammatory rhetoric that was directed at African Americans. The lawsuit comes months after the U.S. Department of Justice announced an investigation of racial discrimination inside the police department. So they've had so many complaints that it made it all the way to the DOJ of racism in the policing that they were doing in Kansas City, Missouri. They're not the only ones. It's been a long list of police departments that are being investigated because, I mean, they all practice policing the same exact way. Mm, mm, mm. So the lawsuit comes after the US Department of Justice announced an investigation of racial discrimination inside the police department that came after a six-part series by the Star that showed Black officers were forced off the job through harassment and unfair discipline. Again, something that is practiced nationwide. They do that nationwide. And the Black officers that are there, they know this, and many of them will just remain on the police force, but they know there are racial disparities when they're on the job every day. In 2018, the Star analyzed traffic tickets issued the year before by Kansas City Police Department and processed by Kansas City Municipal Court. They found that the traffic tickets given to Kansas City residents, 60% went to African Americans who made up 30% of the population. 37% of the tickets went to whites who made up 59% of the population, which means that there are a lot of traffic violations that they choose to ignore. Right? So let me tell y'all about something that came out. This was probably when I was really young and I had just got my driver's license. There was a story that broke here, and it was about the discriminatory ticketing that was going on in the state of New Jersey. Well, the newspaper did an investigative report, and they found that most of the tickets went to those classified as African Americans in the state. But when they went to the insurance company to look at, the most accidents, the most traffic tickets, the most, citations and all that stuff, guess who did the most reckless driving in the state? Asian women. Asian women. But they did not get most of the tickets. African Americans got most of the tickets. Most of the accidents in the state and most of the reckless driving were Asian women. People classified as African Americans didn't even rank at the top, but were getting the most tickets. I'm just saying. Okay. And I will never forget that because that was like big news. Everybody was buzzing about it back then. I know we were, but it just goes to show you, I don't believe any part of the country is not touched by this. Maybe in states where it's not really that many of us, it might be a different outcome, but this is the practice. This is the standard practice in America. So Williams, who is white, is suing the department for alleged violations of the Missouri Human Rights Act, including race and age discrimination, and state law meant to protect whistleblowers. And he's right about that. All of these states have whistleblower laws. And when you do come out with information or you do whistleblowing, you're supposed to be placed under protection. But police departments in this country ignore that, and they just completely harass and go after any cop that is blowing, especially doing what Edwards is doing. Edward Williams is doing right here, blowing the lid off of all the racism that's going on and being practiced in the department. They're not going to protect him under the whistleblowers law. They're not. None of these cops are. All of these police departments will disregard those laws and ignore it, especially if somebody is revealing what they're doing. And he's right, those laws are on the books. But it just goes to show you, look at how many times America will ignore laws that are clearly on the books. This place never follow laws, by the way, y'all. If you really take a close examination at the history of this country, they don't follow laws. They ignore laws every single day. They don't care about no law until they get caught up in it. Then they care, but other than that, they don't care about these laws up in here, and they're not gonna ever practice them like they're supposed to. Just understand that. He alleged white CPD commanders subjected him to racist rhetoric that minority officers would have certainly reported, the lawsuit said. Sergeant Jake Pachina, a KCPD spokesman, acknowledged receipt of the court filing in an email response to the Star's request for comment Tuesday. He said the police department generally does not comment on pending litigation, but said we will be reviewing the details with our general counsel and will provide updates as advised. All I got to say is KCPD, they don't sound like the sharpest tools in the shed First of all, you're being investigated by the DOJ. And then you got this cop that's really blowing the whistle off of things. You would think they would try to at least fake the funk, like they're trying to get things right. They're not even trying to fake the funk. They're not even, they're just putting it all out there. So Wednesday afternoon, KCPD sent out a statement from Chief Stacy Graves saying that they received several inquiries about the lawsuit. Graves said in her statement that KCPD is dedicated to policing that is both equitable and fair in all aspects of our duties. And she knows she's lying, y'all. And this police chief is a white woman, and she knows she's lying in this statement. How is it that every police department is doing fair policing, but y'all all got all kinds of discriminatory complaints on you? And many of these police departments are being investigated by the DOJ. So, how is it that you all come out with the same statement, but you got all of these complaints of racism on you? They it's like a cookie cutter statement, y'all. So she added the department does not direct enforcement activities based on demographics. Well, if you're giving 60% of the tickets to African Americans, I would say you are doing your policing based on demographics. And that's why you're being investigated by the DOJ, because you most certainly are. But rather focuses traffic enforcement in high crash locations as well as traffic compliant locations. She's not telling the truth. This woman is full of crap. I find these allegations very concerning and will immediately ensure the traffic division is reminded to operate and enforce laws appropriately, Graves said. Y'all, this woman is full of crap. This police chief is full of crap. She's full of crap. So, what she's really doing is sending out a pacifying statement, but no intentions on changing anything. You don't see her saying things like, if somebody is caught giving tickets to one demographic of people, that person will be terminated. You notice she didn't say that. She just said, well, I'm just going to tell them not to do that. What the hell is that going to do? What this woman is full of crap. The DOJ need to investigate her all by herself. So, ticket quotas in 2016, Missouri lawmakers prohibited law enforcement agencies from having policies. So, what they're saying is you're not supposed to encourage your employees to even submit a certain amount of traffic tickets, but we know they heavily depend on the traffic tickets in this country to fund the police department. That's why they give out so many, and they're never gonna stop doing that. They can put laws on the books, and as you can see, those laws will always be ignored. So they claim they passed this policy requiring and encouraging an employee to meet certain numbers of citations for traffic violations or quotas. That's prohibited by law, but they practice it every day all over this country because that is a big chunk of how they fund the police department. And no, it doesn't matter what these lawmakers put on the books. They're going to keep right on going out here and throwing those tickets around to as many people as possible, especially us. So the law was sponsored by U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt, a Republican, who was a state senator at the time and went on to serve as Missouri's attorney general before going to Washington. It was billed as a deterrent to local governments relying on revenue generated through citations. Again, that's why they're never going to stop doing it. They're going to just ignore what this what the Missouri state legislature put in place, and they're going to keep right on ticketing. They do that everywhere, y'all. They do that everywhere. They get so much money, so many millions and millions of dollars every year through ticketing people. They're not going to stop, even if there's a law there. But in the lawsuit, Williams contend that KCPD effectively bypassed the law. I told you, didn't I say that? By instead requiring traffic officers to make 100 stops per month. The number of stops was based on previous ticket counts, the lawsuit alleges. They were required to make 100 stops per month, and that's per cop. Each individual cop had to do at least 100 stops per month. That's a lot of tickets. That's a lot of tickets, especially when you look at states that have bigger cities and police forces. That's a lot of money. Williams also pointed to a practice of sergeants printed tickets and ranking officers based on ticket count. Officers who received unsatisfactory marks on their evaluations had duties and benefits stripped from their low ticket writing numbers. This continues to this date, the lawsuit says. But remember, they got a law on the books that say you can't count tickets. You can't have ticket quotas. But they're still punishing cops that came below the quota. So disregarding the law, breaking the law, but out here grabbing people up for breaking the law, and they break the law themselves. And you know what the funny part is? The people that look like these cops, when you bring this up, they'll say to you, well, so what? Well, if that's your attitude, then why have laws on the books at all? So if to you, so what, the cop is breaking laws, then why do anybody got to follow a law then? I guess you don't think about what you're saying. So anyway, Williams also pointed to a practice officers. Okay, I read that part, so let me skip down. Additionally, Williams alleged that KCPD command staff told him and other sworn personnel to work without fully charged body cameras. Their superiors were telling them to not fully charge their body cameras due to low ticket numbers attributed to the time it takes to charge the batteries. This order came despite a KCPD policy change whereby all patrol officers were outfitted with body cameras by April of 2021, according to the lawsuit. So just think about this, y'all. Whenever there is a shooting, you notice the cameras in some instances switched off. Maybe that's why they switched off. Or all of a sudden the camera falls off the cop. I remember some instances where there were arrests and all of a sudden the body camera falls off the cop. Now you know why these things are happening. So they're told not to fully charge their body. Okay. So in May of 2021, the lawsuit said Williams was put on a personnel performance improvement plan because of his low ticket quota. He said he was verbally instructed to stop 10 cars per day for a year. Kill everybody in the car. After he was put on a performance plan, Williams filed a confidence complaint with the KCPD Human Resources, the lawsuit says. Among the concerns raised in the internal complaint was a directive from a KCPD captain instructing him and other officers to approach every car with the mindset to be ready to kill everybody in the car, the lawsuit said. What was that stuff that our people used to get on video said, "Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Say yes, sir. No, sir." Come on, that stuff don't work. That stuff don't work. Look at what these cops were instructed to do. Walk up to every car with the mindset that you're gonna kill everybody in the car. Oh, keep your hands on the steering. That stuff don't work. That stuff don't work. How many times have we seen on videos how our people would comply with everything and still get killed? Now you know why. Their higher ups are telling them to walk up to the car with the mindset that you're gonna kill everybody in there. Your compliance is not a guarantee that you're gonna survive that traffic stop. You just better be you're if you made it, you're just lucky you didn't get one of these cops that got that mindset that they're gonna walk up to your car and kill everybody in it. You just didn't come across that cop yet. Wow, this is deep. But we know this happens. We know because we can see it in the conduct of these police officers out here on the street. The complaint also referenced views allegedly expressed by a police captain that officers should only respond to calls in white neighborhoods because those are the folks who are actually paying for the police. So I guess black tax dollars are not paying police departments, only white tax dollars are. That's what this captain is saying. You protect them and respond to them because they're paying taxes. But I guess the taxes that the black community are paying, those taxes are invisible. So so we pretty much now know why. Well, we know why. White people are gonna protect other white people. I mean, let's be real. White cop gonna protect the white neighborhood. But that's how they're justifying it, y'all. White people are paying taxes, so you respond to them and you protect them and you do real police work when you're dealing with them. But, these people are in the black neighborhood that may own their houses and pay taxes. We don't see their tax dollars, treat them any old kind of way. So that's how they justify it. No wonder why your butts are under investigation by the DOJ. You deserve to be under investigation. Not that they're gonna do too much of nothing. We already know how they roll. Alright. Boy, he really is spilling the beans on this police department. Roughly 10 weeks after the internal complaint was made, the lawsuit says Williams received a letter saying an investigation was concluded and that no violation was committed. The lawsuit says that determination was made without Williams or anyone else, to his knowledge, being interviewed. This is what that police chief concluded. I told y'all they have a white female police chief. She concluded that there is nothing wrong with their policing. You see how I told you her statement was fake because she's fake? Because he raised the complaints, Williams says he was forced to endure a hostile work environment. Right. That's why you can never be a good cop, y'all. You can never be a good cop in America because the moment you complain, they're going to turn on you. And that's exactly what happened to this cop. He also alleges he was threatened with further discipline, demotion, and other forms of reprimand if he went against repeated orders to perform KCPD duties without a charged body cam. Mm, mm, mm. How can you be a good cop in this environment? You can't. In addition to filing an internal complaint, Williams brought his allegations to the attention of the Missouri Commission on Human Rights, which investigates discrimination in the workplace prohibited by state law. He also filed a complaint with the Federal Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, according to the lawsuit. And I mean, really, in all honesty, y'all, the EEOC, they don't do nothing. I know a lot of people think they do. I had friends that worked for the EEOC. They virtually do nothing. In fact, there was a protest against them in my state years ago to get rid of that organization because people would file complaints that they were being harassed and discriminated in the workplace, and the EEOC did absolutely nothing to protect that individual. And it got so bad that folks were saying they want the organization gone because they weren't helping anybody. But we still got people among us that think that organization helps people. They really don't. My friends explained it to me that worked for them. They will file your complaint and really the complaint goes nowhere. But they have to be in place by state law. But as far as them being functional, they technically don't have to be functional like that. When they told me that, I was floored because a lot of people think, "Oh, once you file something with the EOC, oh man." No, you will be shocked. Once you file with the EEOC, your papers will virtually sit there collecting dust. In most cases, that's what happens. I had a close friend, in fact, she was my best friend back in the day, that worked at the EEOC office in Camden, New Jersey. They got so many complaints from people that filed complaints and there was no action being taken. They almost got closed down. So I know for a fact the EEOC does nothing. They don't do a thing. The best thing, if you're being discriminated against and you got proof of that discrimination, which in most cases, people have sense enough to record things and write dates and times down when these incidents recur. You really got to start keeping a serious diary. And if you can record things, record it. And then the best avenue, I would say, if you got a discriminatory complaint on your job, is get a lawyer. Screw the EEOC. Your lawyer can help you file something just to have it on record. You can do that. But if you think they're going to do something or people are gonna get fired because you filed something with EOC, don't hold your breath. That's all I'm telling you, and I know this firsthand from people that worked for them. Y'all, please tell me what you think about this story. This is deep. I mean, we know a lot of this stuff, but for him to bring it out the way that he did, it really is eye-opening. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.